Hey, it's Eric with Patch Foundry. Today I'm going to walk through the patch Beat It from our cover band pack volume 1. You can also get this as an individual pack by itself, or I'm sorry, an individual song by itself if you choose to. A couple things before we get started. I'm running MainStage version 3.7.1, and I am running this awesome custom concert that we have. This thing is so powerful, so CPU efficient, has all these amazing features, and I'm not going to talk about any of them because there's a separate video where you can go through and find out all about that stuff on our YouTube page. So check that out if you haven't. Then the second thing is this patch is not designed to be exactly like the original. And the reason for that is we're designing this specifically for keyboard players in a cover band scenario. What that means is we're trying to highlight and make the sections that are important and bigger, and we're trying to make it overall something where you can play it and you're not worried about every tiny little nuance, but you're worried about making the whole thing sound like a big, energetic show. So those two things out of the way, first we're going to just walk through our channel strips over here on the right hand corner. So the first thing we got here is this DX7 style keyboard. And this thing sounds so good, if I do say so myself, and it's only the native sounds in MainStage. So if you've played in MainStage, you know that there's no DX7 sound that sounds like that. So what we did was we deep dove into the samples and found a lot of really cool things that work, and then we use those as our base. And the reason for this is we wanted to create something where you can download a file onto your computer and open up your MainStage concert and it instantly works. There's no third-party samples or plugins or effects, nothing extra that you have to do in order to just fire up your concert. And because of this, it's super stable, super CPU efficient, and you got this great sound. So if you fire up that root sample, it won't sound anything like that, but yeah, it sounds pretty good now, if I do say so myself. Second thing we got here, a synthesizer. It's kind of a big 80s sample, and then pan to the other side, we have it's a very sharp synthesizer. Both of those, or the one on the left is a sample, the one on the right is using retro synth, and then we've got one more sample, and this one I believe is right down the middle. And all of these are controllable with our expression pedal. If you don't use an expression pedal, you can always map this on-screen expression pedal to your mod wheel, so you can control it that way. But I prefer to have both hands on the keyboards playing and doing sweeps at the same time. And that is all of the sounds for the bottom tier. Now altogether they sound like this. Pretty big, pretty epic. Another thing I'll point out, all of these volumes you can tell are peaking at or just a little bit below 0 dB. And that we spent hours and hours and hours with a professional mix engineer getting it this way, so that when you're adjusting the volume here, which is on the left, because we recommend using the Logic remote then it would just pop up, it'd be on your left side here. And you know that if you set it, like, say, at -3, it's going to be roughly around -3. So it's helpful. Now, the only other thing that's on the bottom, well, there's two more things, but the first one is brass. So we're hoping you play in a group that has brass, because that's really fun. If you don't, we've got some brass. that's been mapped over here by itself, it sounds like this. Just very big, very full. So and it's more of a texture. It's really not designed to be by itself, but it's there if you need those frequencies. And then with every single patch we also have a basic organ that'll just kind of sit there. This one probably you're not going to need it, so but by itself it'd be. So I don't know, maybe it adds some harmonics you want. So that's it for the bottom. I'll go ahead and mute these both here. And then on every single patch, we have everything that you need to really play the patch, maybe minus like one sound on the bottom board. So when I play live, I prefer to play mostly just one keyboard and then have a second keyboard up above for like little extras. And so that's the philosophy here. In this one, we've got this weird drone keyboard. My keyboard's over here on the right. And it just holds. So the idea with this is you hit it and it holds, and then you can play other stuff. So I might go like. So you kind of get the idea of what's going on there. So it's obviously not a necessary part, but it's just an extra texture to have. Now, one last thing I'll point out before we end here is I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 open channels here of instrument, and then 2 more that are muted. And with that in place, I'm also running an M1 MacBook Pro with 16 gigs of RAM. If you're counting, it's that particular MacBook came out in 2020. It's slower than the current MacBook Airs that are on the market, which is just crazy to think about. And I'm also recording video and audio at the same time. And I'm running this at 128 samples and 48K. I really hate latency, and so I try and run as low as possible. And look at this CPU. Go ahead and show you here real quick. Watch this CPU right there. I'm just trying to overload it. This is with no voice limiting, nothing. And we're still peaking at maybe 20% of CPU. And what this means is this is a massive breakthrough if you're a keyboard player in a cover band, because you can load in a bunch of different sounds. And yes, RAM is different from CPU, but even with that here, you can take a look and see there's only 41 megabytes of RAM being used for this entire program. So that means if you have like 16 gigs of RAM or even 8 gigs of RAM, you can load in 50 or 60 of these and never worry about RAM or CPU speeds. This is very fast. So let me jump around. It's just insane how quickly you can move around. And and this took years and years of work, almost 7 years of development in order to figure out how to do this. I mean, it just basically we went through every single plugin, sample, and just try to minimize how much our CPU and RAM requirements were. And this is the end result of all that research. So anyway, that is Beat It, the patch inspired by the song from the Patch Foundry Cover Band Volume 1 pack. You can find it at patchfoundry.com. Leave a comment if you have any more questions.